Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Lepanto Institute anchor team. It's good to see you all again. As we have a live broadcast going out to all of our platforms right now, it's great to see so many people already participating. So that's really wonderful. I'm glad to see all these people here. Real quick, just so that everybody understands, typically every Friday evening from 7 to 8, we have this live stream platform where we talk about all things that are going on in the Catholic Church, going on in the political world, things that are going on in the tech world, whatever pertains to the life of a Catholic. Those are the things that we talk about. And politics plays a big role in that. So we've been focusing on politics quite a bit lately. And we're going to do so again tonight. But before we jump into any of that, why don't we go ahead and open with our prayer? In nomine Patris, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum. Benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus.
Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, et nunc et hora nostri. Amen.
Our Lady of Victory.
Pray for us.
In nomine Patris, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. Real quick, for those of you who have not participated in these before, we do, as I said, we do this every Friday night. It's a private, more intimate conversation that we have because every Friday night it's behind closed doors. But if you would like to join as a regular member of the anchor team, it's just $15 a month. And you can join with us by going to our website and signing up at Lepanto IN, that's LEPANTOIN.org/anchor-team. And it's $15 a month. It's less than $1 a day. And as some of the people in the chat room can tell you, we have a great time. We have good conversations. The side chats, along with the conversations that we have here in the live video stream, really are edifying. And I go back and I read all the comments and all the chit chat that goes on. And I really enjoy the conversations that you guys have while we're talking. So it's a great time. And if you like what we're doing, I would ask you to click like or click the little thumbs up button on YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, please click subscribe to our channel and click the little notifications button, because as we all know, and as we're going to talk about, censorship seems to be a bit of an issue.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And in fact, tonight's topic, technocracy and the new America. I wish I could say that with a big echo.
Technocracy,
and the new America. I want to give you the definition of a technocracy. This comes from Wikipedia, which may or may not be a technical definition. There seemed to be a little bit of a deviation in terms of how precise these definitions are. It's kind of a new word, but I think that this most precisely encapsulates what we're talking about. Technocracy is a system of governance in which a decision maker or makers are appointed or self-appointed on the basis of their expertise in a given area of responsibility, particularly with regard to scientific or technical knowledge. This system explicitly contrasts with representative democracy, the notion that elected representatives should be the primary decision makers in government, though it does not necessarily imply eliminating elective representatives. There's a whole lot to this, and we're going to unpack it throughout the course of the evening. But before we do that, I'd like Jim to give you guys an update on some exciting things that we've got going on here at the Lepanto Institute.
Thanks a lot, Hitch. In the first place, I just want to thank you. I've been staying at the Hitchborn household all week, and It's been a blast, actually. So we've been working together. It's been a lot of fun. First, we want to thank everyone who purchased our Lepanto Sacred Heart Cross. Thanks to you. It was a great success. Now, we still have plenty available. And as we're going to talk about this technocracy tonight, we need you to pass this along to your friends. And we think it's actually a beautiful piece.
Oops. They're saying your mic is off. Let's try again. How's that? Go ahead.
Oh, sorry about that. Is that a little better?
It should work. Go for it.
Okay, Good. First, I want to thank everyone who purchased our Lepanto Sacred Heart Cross. Thanks to you, it was a great success. But we still have plenty available. And as we're going to discuss tonight, due to the technocracy, we would really appreciate it if you talked, showed our videos and whatever the Lepanto Institute is writing to your friends so we can grow organically. But we also have to make a special thanks to Thomas at Thomas James and Bechtold Jewelry in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Fact of the matter is, we went around to a few vendors, and these guys, and specifically Thomas himself, beat up some suppliers pretty good, and we got the price down. We couldn't find anything close to the price we were able to get it to at. So in the description of tonight's show, we have his website as well as some phone number and a contact information with Thomas's name and everything else. But please, thank you. It was a great success, and we still have plenty available. So if you'd like some, we're also recommending that you get it blessed, because we're treating it as a sacramental.
Right.
So yeah, exactly. So, but Hitch gave one to his daughter. It's absolutely beautiful. And if you have a second, could you pop one up?
Yeah.
Cool.
Here, let me introduce it to you guys over here as I am big in the picture. So here, well, all right. So there it is.
There it is. There she goes. Perfect.
So that's the Sacred Heart Cross right there.
So we had a couple of problems with delivery because we had a problem with the mold. So we couldn't get them to everybody before Christmas, but now we've got them in stock. And by all means, please, please consider supporting us and purchasing one. Also, while we're at it, and with shameless plugs that I'm throwing here, we check out our t-shirts and mugs. These are pretty cool. The artwork is a warrior, a very serious Christian warrior. We love it. If you notice, there's a rosary bead wrapped around his sword. And I think it's very appropriate for the times that we are living in.
Yes.
And we're not kidding about that one bit. And also the mug as well. And the t-shirt's great for anything, all sorts of everything but church and a formal occasion. And, you just absolutely love it. I literally ordered one. Hitch saw me do it. So, so anyway, thanks for your support. Couple of things, Hitch. Now we're going to introduce, kind of start unpacking the show right now.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Okay. Couple things. I want to open with the following statement, Hitch. It has been said correctly that evil tends to operate in darkness. Very slowly but steadily, we have witnessed an outright hijacking of free speech. This has been done incrementally. This just doesn't happen overnight. This has been going on for quite a long time. Now, though, it's no longer slow, and it's no longer hidden. In fact, it's in full gallop,
Yep.
So
as Fulton Sheen says, all things accelerate toward their end.
Yes. Well, I would say that we're really accelerating, and I'm not kidding. Now, what's most interesting, and Hitch and I are both going to unpack this, is that the First Amendment reads, Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or the press. Now, in true diabolical fashion, Congress technically was not impeding free speech. Big tech was.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And we're really hoping to offer some analysis and some, frankly, shed some light on this, because I think a lot of people are confused. And we're going to tell you how they did it. And for some of you, it may appear to be simple, but I don't think so. But big tech, of course, orchestrated all of this in collusion with the deep state and the left.
Right.
Yep. And they have, and I think it's fair to say they've secured the entire media apparatus, the entire narrative. And since they are private corporations, they've done this technically legally. So think about this for a moment. Big tech in the last few weeks have actually deplatformed the president of the United States. Apple drops an entire platform. Conservatives and faithful Catholics ran to Parler. Apple effectively took down an entire social media platform, and quite literally one day, poof, it was gone.
Right. Yeah.
And so we find ourselves, squarely living in a de facto technocracy. So tonight we're going to discuss this in depth. The new technocracy and the accompanying censorship. Just a couple examples before Hitch jumps into it. Just think about this: the Biden laptop, New York Post, the whole COVID thing, hydrochloroquine, masks, lockdowns.
Right.
The president of the United States gets silenced. The election and shutting down any dissenting opinion. The riots over the last year were peaceful, yet the Capitol protests were traitors and insurgents.
So they're controlling the message for sure.
Yeah, it's exactly right. So let's start, Hitch, let's start with what we consider the most obvious example and break this down.
Sure. So I want to start with the First Amendment. Because the First Amendment to the Constitution, a lot of people are saying, hey, this violates our free speech. We have freedom of speech, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's true. You do have freedom of speech. But the constitutional definition of the freedom of speech is not what most people think it is. The definition is this: Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. In other words, the protections afforded us under the definition of the freedom of speech is freedom from government censorship. This does not protect us from private censorship. Let's take a look at this from a corporate standpoint. Suppose you have a newspaper publication and somebody from outside the company comes up and says, hey, I have something that I want to say and I want to publish it in your newspaper. You're under no obligation to publish whatever it is that they want to say. Whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. You, the publisher, are under no obligation to carry this person's message. If it was a government platform, that would be a different story. So the problem that we've found is that the marketplace, the digital marketplace, has become a monopoly. And that's really where we need to focus our energies and our attention. This isn't really so much a free speech issue as it is a monopoly issue. Yes. So imagine this. If I were to build, or let's say the government builds a toll road. They build this road. Nobody is restricted from driving on this road. A private company comes along and says, we want to build an access road. Now, an access road that's built on an easement, which is government property, so it's a private road, but it's on a government easement because it's an access road. It's still public property, but they have a right to put a toll on it. So they can put a toll on it in order to recoup the cost of building that road. With that particular thought in mind, what happens is the private industry can tax that particular road to the point at which the cost of building or maintaining that road is recouped. And then the toll is supposed to go away. Government tolls are kind of similar, but they never really go away. They just kind of stay there and people get used to them. And it becomes a source of revenue. That's a totally different issue. At the end of the day here, what winds up happening with organizations like Facebook and Twitter and Google and all these other what are called open source platforms, people are free to join, and there are a code of participation. So you have certain regulations that you have to abide by in order to be a part of the club, and that they are actually protected under freedom of association with regard to access to their platform. So this is fine. That's totally fine. But now, what we have seen with Parler, and I think Parler has an incredibly strong legal case against Twitter and Amazon.
Right.
Because what those two did was form a conglomerate monopoly in order to push out competition. Parler was competition to Twitter, and because Parler was competition to Twitter, Facebook or Twitter and Amazon went to Parler and said, you had better put certain censorship restrictions into your platform, or else we are going to shut you down. And Amazon pulled their servers because Parler was leasing server space. Now, there's another issue here because what Amazon did is they violated
their contract.
Their contract.
Yeah. Right. And by the way, because Amazon has been moving into this space, cutting prices to sort of dominate it like they have in every other area.
Right.
So, and ultimately, and Hitch, I'm sure you'd agree with me, what this is resulting is that they're quite literally only allowing one ideology.
Oh, absolutely.
If I cut ahead of you, forgive me, but go ahead.
No, it's fine. And so if we were to take a look at the construct, so what Amazon and Twitter and Facebook and several other tech giants have done is create a virtual world with a virtual economy. And it has superimposed itself on the real world and the real economy. And if you want to play in the virtual world, you have to abide by virtual rules, circumventing the law.
Right. And since this is unprecedented,
yes,
meaning that this all evolved, in the last 25
years.
And this was open source. It was, and the standard operating procedure for the individual was as follows. You don't like what you hear, you turn it off, but everybody has a platform.
Right.
Go ahead, Hitch.
Yeah. So with this superimposed virtual world, the tech giants have figured out they can create their own world with its own governance and its own set of rules that does not necessarily have to abide by certain constitutional requirements of the United States.
Yes.
What that means is that if you have server space on any of their servers, they can determine whether you are allowed to have space on their servers or not. If you have a platform on any of their social media programs, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, whatever it is, if you don't abide by their rules and don't play according to their philosophy, they can deplatform you. Yep. If you have a video streaming service, so you are providing video content and that's what you do for a living, kind of like what we're doing here right now.
Right.
And you don't abide by their ideologies that they want promoted. So if you engage in, say, what they would determine to be hate speech without ever really enumerating exactly what that is, they can say, well, you no longer have a platform here and you're gone.
Right.
Financial institutions. Now, this is really where it gets dicey.
Yeah.
Because you have PayPal, you have Stripe, you have any kind of online internet commerce going on. Patreon is another one where you can make a contribution, you can make a donation through any of these agencies. But if they don't like the ideology of your company, they can say, nope, you no longer have the ability to exchange and do commerce here on these various platforms anymore. And they'll take away your abilities.
And to take a step back again, the interesting part of this whole argument is this is unprecedented.
Yes.
And because this only evolved recently, and because of, and actually as it started to speed up and the amount of influence was so tremendous, they realized the power that they had and they exercised it, and under the right of private ownership. But the real argument here is that when you take a platform like that has this kind of influence, and it seems odd to me anyway, that when you're going to silence only specific people in that form of censorship, this is precisely why we need laws, not to give money away to stupid bridges to nowhere and stuff like that, and stuff like I'm serious. And so anyway, we're in new territory, and these guys have seized the day, and it's not a small issue because it is not a First Amendment issue technically.
Right, technically it is.
Technically, it is not, and you can't silence anyone, and their position is it's private property. Yes, we can.
Right.
It's a lot deeper.
But there's another side to this too. Because during the civil rights movements of the 1960s, freedom of association became an open question. Do businesses have a right to freedom of association to segregate? Can a business say, we only serve whites, we don't want to serve blacks? And the government said, no, you do not have that right. You have a service industry that you have to allow for commerce with anyone who approaches you. You can't discriminate on the basis of race. So if what was a formerly only white pub and a black came in and said, I would like a beer, the pub owner would now have to serve him.
Right.
And so the civil rights movement actually kind of addressed that question. So the freedom of association has already been kind of addressed, not in terms of ideology, though. And you have a lot of these clauses and disclaimers. We don't discriminate on the basis of race, religion, color, creed, blah, 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 whatever it is. But when it comes to political ideologies, suddenly that's off the table, and they don't enumerate that in any of the disclaimers. So if I own a pub and I want to serve only Republicans, right, and you come in and you don't have a Republican card, I can say, you can't come in.
Exactly. And that's a great example. I mean, we've been through this. What's the difference between one's personal ideology and the color of one's skin?
Right.
The courts have been through this. We thought we were past this. Apparently not. And this is, as I said, this is no joke. The government has stayed out of the internet for the past 25 years. And the only time we've ever heard from them is to tax, because there was commerce going on, kind of like your toll road example before.
Right.
But the part that is absolutely fascinating is, so the media realize their influence. They're absolutely impeding the government's right to free speech, and no one is saying a word.
Right.
And that to me is where's the ACLU?
Right. Yeah.
Where are those guys? It's unbelievable. You don't like what they're saying, and let's face it. You put it right on the table. Who are they censoring?
Oh, they're censoring us.
That's correct. Yeah. And if you don't think if you don't think they're censoring us, they are.
Yeah. Oh, they're absolutely censoring us.
Oh man, unbelievable.
So we were talking about the financial institutions. And again, all of this kind of plays together. You have, if you have a company that is promoting conservative Christian moral ideologies, and you are standing against a particular set of immoral ideologies, or calling them immoral, suddenly what's going to happen is these financial institutions are going to say, you can't do any kind of transactions with our business. And there are so few of them. Now, thankfully, the Lepanto Institute does its online transactions with a company called Anodot. And Anodot is a very strong conservative Christian company. And that is very early on when PayPal, you remember when PayPal decided that they were going to back same-sex marriage?
Yes.
We immediately pulled out of PayPal. We were like, we're done. But we had to find a replacement first, and it took us a while. But what we found was Anodot, and Anodot has been fantastic. They are awesome.
Wow. And that's what's got to happen.
Yes.
And we're going to unpack that part a little bit later, because we've got to take some action here.
So I want to kind of touch on a couple of other different ways that the technocracy controls things. And these control points, by the way, I call them choke points, because that's the way the Communist Party works. The Communist Party works through choke points. We'll get into that in a bit. But another choke point are email agencies. So if you have an email distribution company like MailChimp or SendServe or some of these other email distribution companies, they may determine that they no longer like your message, and they can shut you down, and you won't even have access to your email list anymore. They'll just close your account. Or you, on the other end, you have email server companies like Gmail, Outlook, Earthlink,
right,
whatever. There are so many different email companies, but they have filter programs, and they can go into the filter program and say, okay, we want to delete anything that says sodomy. We want to delete anything that says abortion. We want to delete anything that says
steal the election,
whatever it is. And so automatically your emails are going to filter all those, and you're going to find that all those email lists that you were a part of are no longer coming in, because the email companies have decided, we don't like that messaging. We don't want that messaging going out to these people. So they're just going to cut it off. You also have internet service provider companies like Cox.net. What was the Xfinity?
Right.
Or Verizon, or any of these other internet server, Comcast.
Yep.
Okay. All of these internet server provider companies can say, your company which is a pro-family. You say that you're a pro-family company, but you don't accept or embrace LGBT families. And because you don't embrace LGBT families, you're not really pro-family, and we think that you're discriminatory, and we're going to shut off your business. We're not going to give internet providing to you anymore.
Sure.
So suddenly, the way that your company was having access to the internet is now cut off.
Under community guidelines,
Under
which
community
is completely subjective.
Right. Technocracy in the real world reaches to the level of transportation. If you want to get on our airplane, you have to receive the vaccine.
All right.
And if you want to get on our airplane, you're going to have to receive the identity tracking chip or whatever technological thing that they want to put in your body or on your body or a part of your person. If you don't accept this, the airlines are free to say, we're not going to accept you on our airlines. And just recently, there was that issue with insurance.
Oh, yeah. Right.
We were hearing about AIG,
right,
insurance company,
canceling
people's policies because of their ideologies. So this is what a technocracy does. A technocracy controls all of these choke points, and they control all of the ways in which a company or an individual is able to do commerce online. Online is a virtual world that operates outside of a set of legal norms according to our Constitution. So big tech cornered the market in the virtual world, and through that cornering of the market, they've created a monopoly. That is the only way we are going to actually fight against what's going on, against this encroaching technocracy.
And if you don't think it's powerful, allow us to elucidate.
Yeah.
They just stole an election using this.
Yeah.
This is not a small point. Not to jump ahead, but Facebook, Google, Apple, Twitter, at the end of the day, clearly and deliberately attempted to censor Trump, manipulate the news, and any news that might have hurt Biden. And here's the punchline. They clearly attempted to direct the outcome of the United States presidential election to conform to their own political ideology. I don't think that's a stretch.
No, well, I mean, look at what Project Veritas has done with regard to
yes,
CNN.
Tremendous example. How many times have they uncovered where the CEO of CNN is standing here basically announcing in for lack of a better word, internal public forum.
Right.
And it leaked out. They have tapes of this. Go get them. Or the conversations in a bar. This is not a joke, but they're all in collusion.
Yeah.
And you don't think the media is powerful? I would make the argument that in terms of the most power in the United States of America, possibly the world, the media.
Right.
I would say they've actually gained an edge on our institutions, because what they can do is they can use their coercive force to bully people into this. And it is, as I think Teddy Roosevelt said, the presidency was a bully pulpit.
Yeah.
No more.
Right. Right.
And if this doesn't terrify you, but listen, have faith. Because towards the end, we're going to talk about what we have to do here.
Yeah, right.
We have an answer.
Crass commercial message real quick.
Well,
if I can't believe we're already halfway into the program.
It's getting warmed up.
I know.
Just saying.
So again, this is the Lepanto Institute Anchor Team. If you like what we do, please click click the thumbs up for those of you on YouTube. Give us click the subscribe button, hit the little bell that allows all the notifications to come through so that you know when our new videos are coming out. But this is our free and open one that we do once a month. If you'd like to be a part of our behind the scenes conversations every Friday from 7 to 8, please go to Lepanto, I-N, that's lepanto.org/anchor-team. And subscribe. It's $15 a month. It's less than $1 a day. And we have great conversations. And again, the people in the chat room will be more than happy to tell you exactly how these conversations usually go.
Not kidding. How about we pick up China?
Yeah, let's pick up China.
So there are, for lack of a better word, eerie parallels between what is going on with our media, the bullying that's going on.
Right.
and the Chinese social credit scores, right?
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, let's just give you a little background, and then Hitch and I will take it away. The Chinese social credit score works like this, right? First of all, they have constant and ubiquitous surveillance everywhere, and I mean everywhere. Facial recognition, every online transaction, where you're moving. I mean, it's incredible. It's a perfect marriage of complete control, artificial intelligence, deep learning, all wrapped up into a massive data storage system that can read it through artificial intelligence. You start literally with 1,000 points. You gain points by good deeds, quote, and you lose points by bad deeds. Right. You get a ton of points for praising the government on social media, and you get rewarded by priority status for school admission of your children, promotions at work. And conversely, if you say something critical of the government, the exact opposite happens. And if you get so many points, they do things like that. They will not let you fly, for example, on an airline. So this is kind of like a George Orwell on steroids. Now, I ask you, where are we heading?
Well, I think if we take a look at the way big tech has had it had China in their pockets, or conversely, they've been in China's pocket for so long. I mean, Twitter, Facebook, Amazon,
yes,
Walmart, Big Pharma, all of these companies have deep ties to China. So why do you think they're censoring the message the way that they are? Why would they be shutting down our ability to do commerce the way that they are? How come, what was it, we in our conversation about China a couple of weeks ago, you brought up the fact that, that one company, was it, it was the NBA.
Oh, yeah.
Suddenly, LeBron James is saying, censorship isn't really such a big idea. Free speech, who really cares?
Yeah, the NBA sides, first of all, a lot of people got angry at them because of their political, like the NFL, through their political positions. So what do? They go out and they get this nice, big, fat contract with China. Right? So if I remember correctly, the manager of the Golden State Warriors had the temerity to say something negative about the crackdown on the protests in Hong Kong. Yeah. And that was what it was about, right?
Yep.
So next thing you know, he is apologizing on Twitter and he still gets fired.
Right. Oh, and then you had the one about Nike that had the T-shirt, and on the T-shirt, it had the
China without Taiwan.
China without Taiwan. And the next thing you know, suddenly that T-shirt gets pulled.
It was like within minutes, that thing got yanked.
So the technocracy that is being operated out of China
yes.
has already encroached into the way Americans do business, and
yes.
encroached into the way Americans put forth corporate policies. This is extremely upsetting and disturbing when you consider just how deeply tied Joe Biden is with China.
No question.
This is a Chinese government, and his election to the presidency, his election, let's just say it's made in China.
Yeah, quite right. And to Hitch's point,
and it will break in about 12 weeks. Because all things made in China break in 12 weeks.
That's actually a fact, brother. Look it up. Yeah. So as we're kind of watching this whole thing go down, now you want to talk about eerie parallels, right? Hitch and I were going through a couple things today, and something came across the TV, and now this is the way this all works. Now at Harvard University, the students are signing a petition to pull back and declare null and void all people who are conservative who have degrees from Harvard. Mm-hmm. Now that's kind of a ridiculous example, but AOC says that people, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who supported Trump in any way or were part of the Trump campaign, shouldn't really literally even be able to get jobs. We should harass them. This is what I'm saying, is that you don't have to go very far to find exact examples of what they're doing in China. And I promise you, anyone I think reasonably is paying attention, they're implementing that now, and it's called the cancel culture.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you say something they don't like and strap yourself in because you're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
Right? The guys in the NBA, it happened to them. One guy's wife said something and he got fired. And I'm sorry, I can't recall exactly who it is, but I'm certain this in fact happened. And this is how bad these guys now. I'm saying that it's here.
Oh, absolutely. Oh yeah, it's clearly here.
Yes.
I mean, the fact that Amazon and Twitter conspired to shut down Parler,
yes,
is it should be chilling to everybody. That should be chill. It's a sign to the rest of us that if we are not playing the game, then our businesses are on the edge as well.
Yes.
What this also means is that if there is to be a free and equal market in the internet, in the virtual world, there has to be free and equal competition, which means we need the true alternative to Amazon. We need a whole set of servers that are completely different. We need internet service providers who are not going to censor our messages.
Yes.
We need programming that is going to be free and equal for the distribution of our programs and our messages, and email companies. We need all of these things on a conservative side, because if there is no competition in this market, we are going to see the elimination of all freedom of speech. And let's face it, even in the publishing world, what was it?
Senator Josh Hawley.
Josh Hawley.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. His book. Wait, hang on a second. Big Tech. What was the name of his book? I thought I had it here. Reason. Simon and Schuster canceled.
Simon and Schuster.
His book, and the title of his book was called "The Tyranny of Big Tech."
Oh.
Imagine that. Now, and why did they silence him? They silenced him because he had the temerity to call for a debate on the Senate floor. Right. Are you kidding?
Right. Just for a conversation.
Yes. He goes, I want to have a conversation, which, by the way, was a very valid one.
Right.
Hitch, if I could think of the most striking example to me of the power of the media, my vote's COVID.
Yeah.
Okay. We broke down it in the Great Reset and in China. We've kind of broken down the COVID thing pretty good. And I don't feel any reservation about making the following statement. The COVID is a bad flu.
Yeah.
Right. It's a bad flu season. Now, we all know the numbers, but I'm going to repeat them anyway. 94% of the deaths were people who had a 2.6% comorbidity rate.
Right.
We all know the masks don't do anything.
Right.
I mean, they're literally laughable.
Even the people that are pro-mask realize that they're not that effective.
Right.
They're somewhat effective, they think.
Oh, good. So
Yeah.
the point is, your kids are home from school. You're forced to wear a diaper on your face to go anywhere.
Right.
I mean, and these guys, and let me tell you, I've experienced the Karens out there.
Oh, yes,
yelling
yes,
at me
yes, yes.
on an airplane. The whole bit. I actually had the guts to pull
No
it down.
offense, Karen Mahoney.
Yeah, no offense to any Karens out there. So now the media is doing all this in California, right? I swear that guy's looking just to destroy his own state.
Oh, I'm sure it is. I'm sure. Well, I think Biden's out to destroy the United States, just like Obama was.
Oh, do you remember, Hitch, a couple of weeks ago, we gave the award to biggest hypocrite to the mayor of Austin, Texas, because during the COVID thing, he was telling everyone to stay home, and he took a private jet with his buddies down to what's the name of that? Not Cancun, the other side,
Right.
whatever it is. And so here's my vote now. Cuomo from New York. After New York City is being burned, cops are getting shot at, and the people are going, "Please send in the National Guard. Please send in the Guard." He doesn't do anything. Well, guess where he sent 2,000 troops?
Yeah, right.
to the Capitol. Are you kidding?
Yep.
Seriously, and the media, crickets. And this is what Hitch is talking about. So to his point, this is the positive, for lack of a better word, outcome of this has got to be an entire new platform of which you cannot be censored.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Somebody says, I'm watching on YouTube and they just flagged this live chat. Joyful, could you please explain to me what that means? What do you mean they flagged it? Flagged it in what way? I'd be very interested in knowing what that means. Go ahead. Sorry.
To get, wow, was that timely? Thank you, YouTube. The point is...
Yeah, thank you for proving my point.
Thank you for proving our point here. Unbelievable. So it goes like this. We have to realize and support those who really do support free speech. Now, again, in deference to things like free speech has a responsibility, as the courts have also ruled, you can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater. But the exchange of ideas and differences of opinion is actually what makes the United States what the United States is. Freedom. And I think I'm dying to find out what I have to admit what YouTube's saying, but
yeah, I know.
If anyone can add to that, we would appreciate it. But this is what we're talking about, and this is going to take, this is going to take waking up a little bit. This is going to take paying attention to these servers and punishing them. The guys who are doing this, get off Twitter, find alternatives, shut down YouTube, go directly to the source. And I think that, like, for example, I'm a YouTube freak. I mean, I always make a joke. I mean, you can find out how to build anything you want on YouTube, but and it's interesting. But I think we have to be a little more targeted in terms of how we get our information. So instead of just flipping on YouTube, go to the Lepanto Institute.
Right.
Check out our videos directly. And while you're doing that, we'll be working behind the scenes to make sure that we don't have a server who's going to shut us down.
Right.
And this is how serious it's been. And when you think about it, depending on how this warning that was her Joy was her name?
Joy, yeah.
Joy was telling us about, is there anything on this broadcast tonight that was immoral, wrong? Inflammatory? This was a discussion of ideas.
Right.
And our ideas are not corresponding with Big Brother.
Right.
And I don't know about you. I've had it.
Yes.
And I'm really angry. And until I've always felt this, one of the United States' biggest problem is is lethargy. It's a great place to live. I think it's the best country in the world. But the reason that made it the best country in the world, which is not necessarily diversity, but e pluribus unum, out of many one, and working within the guidelines and the ability to work and keep your wages and contractually negotiate what you're worth. And what I'm saying is that's the beauty of this nation. Not to have some idiot come along and say, hey, Hitch, hey, buddy, I think you made too much this year. You're a bad guy, and we're gonna and isn't it good? Even the idiots, no offense, that say that socialism is a good idea. No, it's not. When is stealing from one ever a good idea?
Right. And regularly.
And by the way, Hitch, question of the day: how are all laws ultimately enforced? Hint:
force.
By the end of a barrel of a gun.
Yep, your authority to enforce laws ends with your ability to enforce them.
Bingo.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at.
So one of the things that I'd like to point out, you had mentioned that we need to create alternatives. You'd said that it's important for us to, quit Twitter, quit Facebook. I would actually disagree with that just a little bit.
Sure.
And the reason I say that is that this is what makes the free market great. Because in a free market, when you have competition, if you have Facebook and Twitter, which are it would be basically the Ma Bell of social media.
Sure.
Ma Bell, or what is it, AT&T now, still does telephone better than most other companies.
Right.
Okay. They were the inventors. They were the ones. They're the originators. They still do it better than everybody else. The iPad and the iPhone, touch screen technology. While Apple was the company that originated that technology, and a lot of other companies have picked up on that. You've got Samsung and Android and the Google phone and all that kind of stuff. They have the screen touch technology as well, but it's not as good as Apple. It just isn't. You can feel the quality, the difference in the quality as you're scrolling your finger across and the way that it moves. And Apple just did it better. They were the first ones to do it. They just do it better. But what the free market does is it allows all of those ideas to be integrated and used, and you are free to choose which one you want. And because Apple is in competition with these other companies, they're not going to squelch out whatever other part of the market share that they can have.
Right.
And if Facebook and Twitter had real legitimate competition, Parler was one.
Yes.
Gab is another, MeWe. There are a few other of these alternate social media platforms, and they're getting a little bit of traction. Gab is getting a lot of people coming over to them right now, but it's slow because they're having an extremely difficult time growing. With so many coming over, their server space is being overloaded. So they have to buy more servers. They have to expand the company. It's going to take a little while to expand. But when they do,
right,
and when there is an alternate to these social media platforms, the next thing you're going to see is that people who stuck it out on Facebook are going to have an opportunity to get on the ground floor on Gab, to get in on the ground floor on some of these other social media platforms. And they're going to be able to expand and grow their industry that way. And Facebook and Twitter are going to be more reticent about being so restrictive about content. Why? Because the more people see that they are restricted in one area and freer in another, they're going to naturally go to that other area.
Right.
So the free market is a brilliant way to fix the problem. What we're facing now, because all of those morons, and I'm calling them morons, who voted for Joe Biden, who said, oh, no, it's okay, we'll get Biden in and Trump, just as long as we get Trump out, because he's a meanie. We don't like Trump. Nah. So they get Biden. But they get Biden and a Democrat Congress.
Yes.
And all of them are damn socialists. I mean that to the fullest letter of the word.
That's right.
They are damned socialists. And they don't care about your freedom of speech. They don't care about your freedom of assembly. They want to squelch it. And they are definitely in the pockets of the communists. You people who voted for Biden, you people who voted for Ossoff and Warnock and anybody else who is now a Democrat in Congress, you are going to face the consequences because that free market is going to die.
Agreed. And they're going to do their best to kill it. They're going to use everything in their arsenal to redistribute what is around and kill the actual people who produce things. And if you think we're overstating it, you're wrong. So, look at China.
Exactly. In China, they have a policy. It's called disappearing.
Yeah.
When you brought up the way that their social scoring works.
Right.
Okay. You start with 1,000 points. You go plus or minus depending upon how well you acquiesce to the government policies.
Exactly right.
Okay. Right. Your social scoring on social media. You keep in mind Facebook and Twitter. Guess who they have contracts with? The CIA, the FBI, the NSA. They've got government contracts with those agencies.
Absolutely.
And now these aren't grants. I've seen the argument, by the way, online that, well, because they're taking government money, that means that they have to abide by the constitutional laws of free speech. That's not true.
Right.
And the reason it's not true is because these are not grants. This is not free money that the government is giving them that would require them to abide by government rules.
Sure.
These are contracts. So they are contractors with the CIA, with the FBI, with the NSA, and they did it so that they could do facial recognition technology, so that they could do social tracking, so that they could do particular demographic operations, so that they could monitor certain things about the way Americans and internationalists are conducting business and conducting themselves. It was a big monitoring platform.
Can I interrupt you? Kind of an interesting reversal, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
What I mean is that, to Hitch's point, there are all these behind-the-scenes contracts with CIA, FBI, deep state. Now, 2 decades ago, these guys would not have even had a cup of coffee or a beer with these other guys. These were dirty words. Now all of a sudden they're all in bed together, and I ask you why. That's why. Mm-hmm. You think and the other thing too is you may be asking yourself, right? Why is somebody like the head of Amazon or whatever, YouTube? These are very, very wealthy men. How could they possibly want a system like this? And the answer is this. First point is that they think that they're insulated from the ramifications of their own stupidity.
Yep.
They're so arrogant that they think that they have a better way.
Yeah.
Right. And they also think these guys, the equality that they're envisioning is not exactly applied to them. Right. Their kids will not be Gavin Newsom's kids.
Oh gosh.
You think they missed school? No. Answer: no. They went to private school and they
haven't even missed vacation.
They haven't even missed vacation. Their life hasn't been interrupted.
Or family Thanksgivings.
Or family Thanksgivings, as a matter of fact, or very nice dinners at restaurants with no mask.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so they really believe that they're insulated, and they're so arrogant that they think they have a better way. Gates is another one.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why is Bill Gates talking to me about vaccines? Does he have a PhD in immunology? I don't even know what the what's correlated with
Virology.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy. So virology. Why is Bill Gates, the guy who drank Diet Cokes, Mountain Dews, and sat in a room for 48 hours straight coding, telling me about vaccines? I don't care. I just could care less what he thinks about this. But he's got the answer. In fact, he's got the answer so much that he's going to sterilize a whole bunch of women in Africa, because in the big picture, he wants to get, this guy what thinks the population, he envisions it being reduced 90%. These guys are all in collusion.
Yep.
And so we're trying to say to you in the most emphatic way we can is that pay attention.
Very cool. Very cool. Keep a stiff upper lip.
Yes. Pay attention. We really have to pay attention. It's that serious, because they're counting on us being asleep at the switch.
Right.
They really are.
Yep.
You know, and guess what, fellas? The time's over.
Yeah.
Wake up.
Yeah. One last crass commercial message, and then we're going to spend 10 minutes wrapping it up.
Good.
And then we'll be back for the next week. But if you like what we're talking about, you want to be a part of the conversation, you want to be a regular participant in these group discussions that are taking place in the sidebars here, or just every once in a while, I can see your comments and we'll give a shout out and see what's going on. But if you like what we're doing, give us a thumbs up on Facebook, give us a like on social media. Click the subscribe button if you're on YouTube, and be sure to click that little bell that allows you to know when a new video comes out, so that you can get the notification, let you know when a new video comes out. And if you would like to join the Lepanto Institute Anchor Team, you can go to our website, which is lepantoin.org/anchor-team. And I am just now putting it into the chat box so that you can see the link. If you would like to join, $15 a month, just click the link or go to lepantoin.org.
And I'll put it in the show notes too as well.
Yep, it'll be in the show notes as well.
Go.
So join us.
Hey, let's pull up a couple of comments.
Yeah,
okay.
Here? Let's see. We've got, of course, it says that there's an error when I try to post it on YouTube.
Oops.
Thomas loves our comment about the face diapers.
I'm like, you got to be kidding.
What
do we got here?
Let's see.
Bill Gates is running the largest
eugenics population. Yeah, Bill Gates is running the largest eugenics population control reduction experiment with the Wu flu and the vaccines. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I was really shocked when I read about his vision for how the world is. And I wasn't kidding. I didn't pull that number out of thin air. He envisions a 90% reduction in the world population, and the remaining population of perfect people who are not disruptive or requiring additional assistance. Right, yeah. You know, like a child born with a handicap. No bueno. Who else thought that way? I can't. Mike Hitch? Help me out here.
He had a funny mustache.
That's him.
Yeah. Charlie Chaplin.
Margaret Sanger?
Oh, yes.
That too.
Yeah.
I am like, you have got to be. Is this not repeating itself?
It's fulfilling itself.
It's this loop, and they're trying to redress this old idea. And it is worth mentioning the exact same vision that these people, not the exact same, but they always tweak it a little bit.
Right.
But this resulted in 150 million deaths last century, somewhere between that 150 million murders. And I'd also like to point out Venezuela. That's my favorite example these days. Venezuela,
it was an incredibly wealthy country.
Oh my gosh, I live in South Florida, and I've been fortunate enough to have friends originally from Venezuela, and they look me in the eye and say, "What is wrong with you people?" They're eating out of dumpsters in Venezuela. You really need to come down. Or my all-time favorite is, I think I told you about her, my buddy Danny. His wife's from Russia, and she is an ardent conservative, right? And she is just like, what is wrong with this country? You have absolutely no idea. She grew up in a communist country.
Wow. And
she tells stories, and she has been in, she just doesn't understand how this is happening. We have the model, you know?
I can tell her the answer, the reason this is happening, the way a government or a government takeover works, an insurrection, a revolution, a rebellion, it's always a small group of people, and they obtain choke points.
Yes.
And from those choke points, they launch themselves into positions of power. What was the choke point for the election?
There were several,
there are two that I can think of primarily. The voting machines.
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah.
That's a choke point.
That's a choke point.
And the other choke point is the mail-in ballots.
Right. So I see your point. The harvesting of ballots, right? Instead of the mail-in ballots, which is an easy way. Yeah, that's exactly right. And the other one was changing software on a counting machine.
Yep.
Why do you have to adjudicate a machine that counts?
Right.
There's no reason for that. And that's a great way to put it. I didn't understand the question, but you're 100% right. And again, history has proven choke points are very effective. Whether you're a U-boat in the North Sea,
right,
or choke points are everything. And
the Battle of Thermopylae.
You got to help me on that one, buddy.
So the Battle of Thermopylae was the 300 Spartans.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Okay, 300 Spartans up against the entire Persian army, which was some 30,000 strong at that point. And the Battle of Thermopylae, you had those 300 Spartans. They hold up in a choke point. They were in a very small. It was like a narrow point in the pass, and the Persian army was pushing through, and only a few men at a time could get through. And the Spartans, being far superior warriors, were able to mow them down as they were coming in.
Wow. There you go. Okay, perfect example. It was Hitch, if I may relate to our audience this evening. Hitch and I, we had a great week, great time. Today, we were talking a lot, and we both have this kind of vision, because, and here's the vision, if I may speak for you. Now that politics has clearly entered into the realm of being a faithful Catholic, right? This is no longer a discussion of ideas,
right?
This is not, I had older relatives, who were in unions, and they felt strongly about that, and I respect that. Oh, no, we're talking about good and evil.
Yep.
And so, Hitch and I were talking there's this resurgence of communism, and we're dedicated to fighting this every step of the way. We'll make enemies, right. And I know I speak for you. We don't care. That's what we're doing.
Right.
And we need you to help us.
Right.
With in any possible way you
share,
can.
like, and subscribe.
Yep.
Right now, because the censorship is under full-blown attack, obviously this message is probably going to be suppressed in some way, shape, or form. So,
which is actually a merit badge in my view.
Oh, sure. Makes our job a little harder.
Well, yeah, that's true. But I'm feeling kind of proud right now. So,
yeah.
But it does make our job very difficult.
One thing I want to point out, Steve Collins here says, the middle class will be decimated and become the proletarian, while the ruling class will live better than current politicians. And I think that we have to really kind of show what the oligarchs are going to be here. The guy that owns Twitter, the guy that owns Facebook, the guy that owns MailChimp, whoever, all these CEOs of these major big tech corporations, they're the ones who are living high on the hog.
Fair enough.
And the politicians are eating at their trough.
Yes.
So because
great point.
Yeah. So because the politicians are eating at their trough, if the politicians want to get that money, they have to fall in line with the policies that these guys want to have implemented, which means they have to turn a blind eye to things like free speech and concerns regarding free speech or freedom of assembly or freedom of the practice of your religion. Whatever it is, those guys are now going to be going to big tech, the big tech oligarchs, and saying, please, Mr. Oligarch, don't take away my message on MeWe and Twitter and Facebook so that I can go ahead and tell my constituents that I'm a good politician.
That's very good.
Yeah. And that's how it's going to be.
Like
that's how socialism is going to take over this country, through a technocracy.
And if I could, because this popped into my head and I think it's very valid. Since the French Revolution, this has happened before. And what happens at the end? They wind up getting guillotined.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So even though they think they're on board, whatever, this becomes unbridled power, and unbridled power corrupts out.
Right.
Absolute power corrupts absolutely. I believe Lord Acton said that. That's right. There you go.
Yep.
So, we have any time left? How are we doing?
We've got a few minutes left.
Let's go to the phones. Oh, we don't have any. Sorry.
We don't have any. Yeah, that's right. Telephone.
Sorry,
operators are standing by. One thing that I would like to say, though, because this is all very discouraging, and it's very upsetting to see that we have a very clear technocracy taking place. But Our Lady is the one who crushes the head of the serpent. And if this dragon, this serpent, is rising out of China, which it is, and remember, China is represented by what? A dragon. Okay, so you have this red dragon rising out of China, this red dragon of Marxism, this red dragon of communism. Our Lady is going to crush its head. For one thing, the technocracy is going to take control. It's going to take power. It's going to implement some very, very bad policies that are going to cause a lot of us to suffer. But it's not sustainable.
No.
It's impossible for that system to sustain itself. Why do we know this? Russia collapsed under the weight of its own socialism. It had to adopt certain capitalist free market policies in order to sustain itself.
And if you notice too, one, not to interrupt you, they hide it. That's why the walls come up around the country. Nobody's trying to get in.
Right.
They ain't letting them out.
Right. China has fake cities, ghost cities.
Yes.
Okay.
That's their central planning for you.
Right. So the ghost cities of China, what are those? They were cities that they built up. They spent billions of dollars building up these cities to give the appearance that they are affluent, that they have an actual strong infrastructure and a lot of economy. Their economy is strong and everything's going well. They build up these cities. No one lives in them.
Right.
No one lives in them. And they're collapsing because they were made cheap.
Yeah, and it was a jobs program and done for show. And this is what happens when you have centralized planning.
Right.
And you don't let the free market dictate this.
Right.
But give him your quote about the two coins. I love this.
Okay. So
two sides of the coin and Christ.
So dialectical materialism is the coin, and the two sides are extreme capitalism and extreme socialism. So socialism and capitalism, because they're both focused on the material world. They're both focused on fixing whatever material ideas they want to have. Now, when I say capitalism, I don't mean the free market. I mean people like the Bilderbergs, the Rockefellers, the who are the people that build the Vanderbilts?
Yeah, right.
Okay,
Carnegie's.
Carnegie's. When you see the well-to-do up and down Park Avenue, high hats and narrow collars. Okay,
those guys.
So those monopolists, they are the capitalists.
Yep.
They're the ones that were condemned by the church. On the other side, you have the socialists. And the socialists and the capitalists, because they are both focused on the economy and they're focused only on the material realm, it is, by definition, dialectical materialism. But Our Lady crushes the head of the serpent. And what happens is all of this focus on the material world. Now, we do have things that we have to worry about. How are we going to feed our family? How are we going to make sure that we are able to participate in the open market? How can we conduct business? I might lose my business. I might lose my house. I might lose my income. I might not have food for tomorrow. Our Lord is very clear when he says that the sparrow is able to obtain food in the woods, and the Father is the one who feeds him from his hand. And how much more value do you have than the sparrow? So why would you be so terribly concerned if you have faith? And that's really where all of this goes. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the fears that we have coming in with the controls over the government, the controls over our economy, the controls over our own very lives, if we turn to our Father in faith, and we pray that prayer that he gave us, give us this day our daily bread.
Sure.
That doesn't mean tomorrow's bread. It doesn't mean next week's bread. Daily bread. Take care of us today, Lord. Take care of us in the day. Take care of us in the moment. Help us to live entirely for you. Help us to raise our children for you. And you do that in faith. You maintain your daily rosary, your devotion to the 3 Hail Marys every day. And whatever comes will come. He will allow suffering. That's something that we have to do. Take up your cross daily and follow me. We have to have that daily suffering. But we can't be afraid. We can't be afraid. What's going to come is going to come. I give you this information because it's important for you to know. It's like seeing a storm coming. If a storm is coming and I don't tell you that a storm's coming and you leave your windows open and your carpet gets soaked, well, it's kind of my fault. But if I tell you a storm's coming and you leave your windows open, well, it's on you. But even if a storm is coming and you don't have the means to protect your home, to protect your family, and you have to hide in a closet, well, then you go in a closet and you pray, because that's all that you have. You do what you can with what you have.
Well said. And I would just add, free market with Christ.
Yes. Yeah.
And either
that's what we work for. That's
Yep.
what we work towards.
Yep. Free market with Christ, not capitalism. Free market with Christ.
Exactly.
And by the way, on a happy note, because that was a very good message, by the way, I appreciate that. I've had the best week up here, and we prayed the rosary every day with the Hitchborn family, and it was a great experience. And I don't know how you guys are so thin, because food around here is pretty good.
One last time before you guys go home, the Anchor team, every Friday night from 7 to 8, we have these conversations, $15 a month. If you'd like to join, lepantoin.org/anchor-team. I'm putting the link right here in the comments box. Please join us.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, even if you can't join us every Friday night, but you would like to support the work of the Lepanto Institute, this is a great way to do it. It helps us to maintain our message. It helps us to continue the research and the work that we do here, so that we can continue to help you guys see through the darkness and draw you towards the lighthouse, which is Our Lady. And with that, why don't we go ahead and close with our Ave Maria.
You bet, Hitch.
In nomine Patris, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum. Benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus.
Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostri. Amen.
Our Lady of Victory.
Pray for us.
In nomine Patris, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. God bless you all, and I hope to see you all next week.
Yeah, thanks for listening, guys.